pleasure to welcome Bill Birdsal. He's currently the chairman and CEO of Micromed, a great medical technology device company. But I'd like to introduce Bill in another way. There are very few people among serial entrepreneurs who do the entrepreneurial journey, not in one, not in two, but very different verticals, very successfully. And Bill, welcome.
Thank you.
To Tiecon Midwest 2010.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
You started your career as an attorney.
That's right.
Went on to start many companies in different verticals. So if I may just lay out, the most biggest and the important one was Ticketmaster. Then you rebranded Ramada, which was Renaissance Hotels. You were the first person to take the REIT company public, and now you're doing medical devices. I think you are truly an envy of many serial entrepreneurs and a true role model for many aspiring entrepreneurs. And it will be so nice to learn from you how you pick up these different elements of entrepreneurial challenges in so many different verticals and make it so successful. And yet, be so humble.
Well, I thank you for that introduction. And, you know, I think the overriding theme for all of those different verticals was that I was fortunate to be in a position of leadership. But in every case, it really was the team that made everything happen. And I was fortunate enough to be involved with some great teams, and those teams happened to be in the entertainment field, in the hotel field, in the medical device field. But the really common denominator was a great group of very, very talented people all working together to achieve one common goal and objective. And so while there are diverse industries and they all require their special expertise, if you have a great team with good expertise and a lot of determination and ambition, you can be successful.
You know, it's such a cliche thing to say, well, entrepreneurship requires passion, dedication, an idea, and a lot of other things, right? But truly, when you actually get on where the rubber meets the road, as they say, it's very different. So do you think that entrepreneurship, either it's in you or it's not in you, or according to you, these are some skill sets that could be acquired along the way?
I think that it is skill sets that can be acquired. I knew that I had, you said, a passion and determination and ambition, and I think for me, my ambition was really to be my own boss and to be responsible for my own destiny. I didn't have the ambition to create a particular kind of product or to make a lot of money, a lot of the other things that might drive the passion or the ambition for an entrepreneur. But for me, it was simply wanting to be my own boss and take responsibility for where I was going in life. And so the rest of it I had to learn. And for me, the way to learn that was some pretty hard lessons. You know, I had a few successes, but I had a lot more failures than I had successes, and I learned from a lot of those failures. And the other thing was that I had some really great mentors. And I think the ability to learn from your bosses and the ability to have guidance and help and support and just to have someone to bounce ideas off of is a key component to learning how to be an entrepreneur.
You start your journey not very long ago, right here in the backyard of Detroit as a kid. It'll be interesting to share that initial story where you had to really struggle. You had a one-bedroom apartment.
Yes, I actually grew up in California, and before I finished high school, I ran away from home when I was 15. And for some reason, I had spent some summers here in Michigan, so I chose Detroit as the place that I was going to run away to. And started my career, we're here in Dearborn, but just about 10 miles south of here, right in the heart of Detroit, as a construction worker, digging ditches. And I was extremely poor. I lived in a one-room efficiency apartment, about 250 square feet, and I actually had, my bed was in the closet. You would open the closet door, and there was the bed, and you'd pull it down from behind the closet. And I ate macaroni and cheese every night, put on my boots every morning, and went out and dug ditches. And that's when I decided I wanted to learn how to be an entrepreneur.
Then, but you also went to school, although you didn't finish it.
I did. I was very fortunate about a year after I ran away that I was working on the construction crew for a new college, in fact one up north of here in Mackinac Island, Michigan. And in the evenings, after work, I got to know and become friends with the president of the college. And he and I would chat in the evenings or have dinner in the evenings. And fortunately for me, he took a liking to me and suggested that I ought to go to school. I was a bright kid and I'd do well at his new college. And he never asked me if I had a high school degree or if I'd graduated from high school. So I said I'd love to go to school, and he did the paperwork and got me in. And so that's how I got into college and started my education without ever finishing high school.
And you went all the way to becoming an attorney.
I did. I was able to, I nearly got thrown out of that college when the admissions office found out that I didn't have a high school transcript, but I was fortunate enough to transfer at the end of my first semester to another college and university that was only interested in my first semester grades and not my high school transcript. So I was able to move on, and from there go on, graduate, and go to law school.
So how did you take the liking to becoming a politician, and then how did you get away from it? It's not easy.
Well, I had always wanted to be a politician. That was my goal and my plan, and I executed that plan. And in 1974, I ended up as an attorney for the United States Congress, representing the Interior Committee. And the chairman of that committee was a gentleman by the name of Morris K. Udall from Arizona. And about a year after I went to work for him, he decided that he was going to run for president of the United States. And I was fortunate. He invited me to join him in that campaign and help him with that. And from that experience, I really saw politics firsthand. And I saw everything that was great about politics, and I also saw some of the things that were not so great. And that was enough for me to realize that that was not the career I wanted, and that I was going to have to change my business plan, so I did.
Ticketmaster is a great story. It's a big brand, $8 billion in revenue. Share us the story of how you got involved with Ticketmaster.
Well, it was shortly after my career in Washington. I'd actually gone back to the state of Arizona, where I'd gone to law school, and was working as Assistant Attorney General representing the state. And one day, actually the gentleman who I had worked for on the construction crew here in Detroit had also moved to Scottsdale. And at that time, he had happened to purchase a software company from some students at Arizona State University. And he paid $25,000 for the software and didn't quite know what to do with it. And so he drove down one day to visit me in the Attorney General's office, and he said, look, I've got this software. Would you come help me figure out how we can create a business around it? And that really was the lucky turning point for my life. And I didn't hesitate. The opportunity presented itself. I was looking for something new to do, so I grabbed that opportunity without any hesitation and became employee number one of a company that eventually we built into Ticketmaster.
I'm going to talk about a couple more examples on the entrepreneurial journey, but one very important distinction I'd like to make here is that most entrepreneurs come up with the idea of technology themselves. They're most technologists. In your case, you always took the idea that somebody else came up with and made it into a huge business. I think there's a lesson to be learned here that when entrepreneurs say that it is my idea, I want to make it big, you can't always take it that big. You need somebody else like yourself to come and do that. So that is the important distinction, I think. So, and for all the others out there who think that they don't have an idea, so how can they be an entrepreneur? I think you're the best example. You don't have to have an idea of your own. You can always join somebody and make it really big if you are the leader.
That's right. I think that there certainly is a great role for inventors to play, and in all of the companies that I've been involved in, or at least most of them, the inventor has been a key role, played a key role, and has been a part of every one of those companies in one form or another. But there are also lessons that we talked about, lessons that were required to be an entrepreneur, that you have to learn from the experience. And those necessarily are not the same lessons that you learn as an inventor or someone that comes up with a great idea. So I think it takes a combination of both.
Let's spend a little bit of time on rebranding of Ramada into Renaissance. And I think you've done an amazing job on that. And how did that come about after Ticketmaster?
Well, we sold Ticketmaster, started Ticketmaster in 1976 and built it up went from 0 market share to about 95% market share in just under 5 years. And at that point, the company really required a great deal more capital to grow. And so we were able to interest the Pritzker family, who owned the Hyatt hotels, and we sold the company to them, who then built it up and sold it to Barry Diller, and then he sold it to Sony, and today it's part of Live Nation. But after we sold the company in 1981, one of the gentlemen that was an attorney who represented me at Ticketmaster had just been appointed chairman of a hotel chain called Ramada. And Ramada was in bankruptcy, and he was asked to figure out how to get the company out of bankruptcy. And he called me, and based on our experience at Ticketmaster, he invited me to come down and join him as Senior Vice President for Development, and to help him work through the problems with that company. And we did. Most of that involved selling real estate to raise cash to right the company and get it back into shape. But after we'd done that, about a year into the process, it occurred to me that we were going to need to start to focus on growing the company. And at that time, there was nothing. Today we all recognize and know the business hotel. But in 1982, there was no such thing as a business hotel. And I thought that rather than build another motel or another inn, if we could build a hotel that was catered exclusively to businessmen and had the kinds of things that we all take for granted today, a desk, internet service, a business center, a gym, then we could lift that brand and raise up the image and brand of Ramada. And I chose the name Renaissance, Ramada Renaissance, to signify the rebirth of the company as that name. And we started out really, the company was pretty poor at the time, and they were only able to give me $100,000 to build that first hotel. By the time we ended up designing it and putting in all those ideas, it was about a $40 million project. So that really taught me a lesson that every entrepreneur needs to know, and that's how to bootstrap your business with a very minimal investment and to get it started and make it successful. We don't always start out with all the money you need to be successful in your business. And in fact, that $100,000 was 4 times the amount of money that we had when we started Ticketmaster.